Hello again to all my friends. It's me, Herschel J. Granger Jr., aka Herschel Jr., the voice. You know, family, in today's climate, it's more important than ever to be good to your fellow man. And in this week's segment of The Corner, we meet a couple who's doing just that. In fact, their quest for giving is so big it spans 2 continents. The Corner this week will be taking a little trip to the motherland, so to speak. So stop what you're doing and meet me on The Corner. I'm here with Stephen Thomas and Alice Thomas, the co-founders of Splendors of Africa. How y'all doing today?
Great. Doing great.
Good. So glad to have y'all. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while, so I'm glad to finally be able to sit down and talk with you guys. So we're just going to really try to get to know you guys a little bit first. So, you know, they say every success story has an origin story. Now, Stephen, you're from the Cleveland, Ohio area.
I am.
And Alice, you're from Kenya.
Yes,
so
I am.
So that's two worlds apart. So tell me, how did y'all meet? Normally it's better to ask the woman that question, but I'm just going to put it out to both of you.
Well, Herschel, I always like to tell this story that Alice was my next door neighbor, and that I stalked her.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay.
Yes.
And the rest is kind of almost history.
All right. What's the story from your perspective?
He actually was my neighbor.
Was he creepy or was he?
No, he wasn't creepy. But he pursued me.
Okay.
Every day.
Well, to the victor goes the spoils, right? That's all right.
Persistence beats resistance.
How long y'all been married? 19
years on this year coming up.
Okay.
18, but we're working on 19.
Okay. And certainly when we're talking about charitable organizations, they come from a need, of course. So what is the current state of Kenya in terms of socioeconomic disparity, in terms of, like, you know, rich, poor, middle class?
That's a great question. I must admit the disparity between the rich and the poor is outrageous. That's the only word I can use, because we have the very rich and we have the very poor. The middle class has really shrunk. Just the other day I was watching a video on Facebook where a mother was boiling rocks in a pot.
Wow.
So that the children could think that there was food being cooked, because she didn't have any food, so that they could go to sleep.
Wow.
How do you go to sleep thinking about something like that? It broke my heart, and it propels me. I know I have to do something. I have to reach somebody, at least one person. And that's the mindset most of us should have, because most of us don't sleep hungry.
I mean, I tell people all the time, like, even growing up in America, like, there was a time when you couldn't just walk in the kitchen without permission. But now kids, there's always a full pantry, there's always a full refrigerator that they can go to whenever. So they don't understand the plight of people in other countries, and sometimes even in this country. But certainly, from your perspective, that certainly paints a picture.
Yeah, and I'd like to chime in on that because upon my first visit to Kenya, I saw it, so it's real now. I came back from Kenya, and I promise you, I have never stopped working hard since. I have never stopped wanting to just be successful. I promised my wife I would make this foundation $1 million endowment. Although we're not there yet, I don't have any doubt about the fact that we'll get there. We want to make a difference, and if you go over and you visit with us, you'll see that, wow, I really got it made in America.
Okay, so tell me about Splendors of Africa. What was the inspiration that led to Splendors of Africa?
Splendors of Africa really has been a way of life for my family. Originally, 2 of my sisters, Eva and Perry, started it as to sell African artifacts in Europe.
Okay.
After that, we transitioned and started our safari company, a tour and travel company. And that was in Kenya. Then we transitioned again, and here in the US, we started it as a non-profit organization with Steve.
Okay, and from the non-profit standpoint of it, because I'm more familiar with it from that standpoint. So you're the king of the elevator pitch, so if you had to give an elevator pitch on Splendors of Africa, talk to me about that.
If I had to give an elevator speech on Splendors of Africa, Herschel, we started it in 2015, but yet it really started maybe 15 years earlier, because when I met Alice, she was paying school fees for kids in Kenya. So I jumped right in and started paying school fees too. In 2015, we decided we wanted to give back. So we created Splendors of Africa as a foundation here in the U.S. to help thriving young artists in Kenya, as well as those youth who just couldn't find their way from a career standpoint. And we started that by simply purchasing the artwork, the artifacts, and all of the things that they made over there from the indigenous people of that country.
And some of the artwork is right here with us.
Some of the artwork you see here. And so we decided to bring it back into this country. We imported a lot of stuff, and we brought it back here to be able to raise money for the foundation, as well as and while helping the people there in that country of Kenya.
And with raising money for the foundation, what are some of the programs and services that you do provide?
We do a lot of feeding programs. We do a lot of educational programs, scholarship programs. We recently, I think last year, supplied a lot of bunk beds for a lady who took all of her own money and started a school. We purchased all the bunk beds. We sourced everything in the country of Kenya, and it was delivered right there in the country of Kenya.
Wow.
So again, the three principles for Splendors of Africa is education, trade, and culture. And so we always try and encompass those things into what we're doing.
Okay.
And we've been able to successfully do that.
Beautiful. So if someone wanted to participate, how would they do that in terms of, is it just financial donations? Are they able to actually go to Kenya with you and do some things, or how exactly do people outside the organization participate?
As the organization has progressed over the years, we were prepared to take a group of people, African Americans and any other church members or any other organizations that would like to go and travel to Kenya. Then yes, they can go through Splendors of Africa. They can get involved. We have an educational resource center over there that's coming up.
Okay.
They can get involved with that. We actually had a trip scheduled, as you know, for June of this year, which of course had to be canceled with the current pandemic and the state of things as they currently are.
Right.
We still have the October trip on the books. We don't know if we'll make it or not.
Right.
But they can also go by visiting us at www.splendorsof africa.org.
Okay.
As well as our Facebook partner page, which is Mavazi.
Okay. Now, you did mention the current pandemic, and certainly wanted to send some love and blessings to those who have been affected by the worldwide pandemic dealing with COVID-19. But in aiding with that, you guys have done some things to help people with social distancing.
Correct. One of the things we've done, I'm a seamstress.
Okay.
I've been doing this for since I was about 5 years.
Okay.
So when this pandemic happened, the first thing I thought about, everybody started talking about masks, and we realized, oh, this is something I can do. So I decided to sew masks. We donated some to some hospitals. We donated to some elderly people in the community.
Beautiful.
And some of them we are selling so that we can raise money for Splendors.
Right.
So that we're able to donate and continue with our educational programs both here and in Kenya.
Okay. So talking more about you being a seamstress, you don't just make masks, you make some other beautiful things as well. So how did you get into doing that?
It looks like I come from a family of seamstresses. My mother is a seamstress. She doesn't sew anymore,
Okay.
but she was fantastic. When in Kenya, women were not even allowed to own businesses. My mother actually opened a shop. Her mother, my grandmother, was also a seamstress.
Okay.
That's what I learned recently. So it's something that seems to run in the blood.
And you're very good at it too. How can people get some of these things from you?
Right now we don't have a website, but you can go to our Mavazi page.
Okay.
That's
On Facebook, okay.
Yes. Facebook at Mavazi. We're also on Instagram. and sometimes just giving a call. Most of the work we're doing right now is word of mouth because of careers and all that. We are not working so much in the tailoring aspect of our business. Most of the time when we tailor, it's because we want to raise money for Splendors of Africa.
And you mentioned also the plight of the women in Kenya. You said at one point you weren't able to open a business. Is that still?
Oh no.
Okay,
That's
things have changed.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. You're a woman, here you roar right now.
Oh yeah. It's the same. Thing. It's the same in Kenya, just like here.
Okay.
This was in the early 60s.
Oh, understood. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So things have really changed, and women are in the forefront of business. They own a lot of businesses, and they're doing very well in Kenya.
So sisters are doing it for themselves.
Oh yes, they are.
Has the pandemic been a big deterrent for that, or have you still been able to do some things?
That's a great question. We are actually, because we've been paying school fees for kids in Kenya, right now all kids have gone back home. Now that's a burden for parents because all of a sudden they have to, in Kenya most of the schools are boarding schools.
Right.
Now children have gone home, parents have to feed them. Parents are not being able to meet that need. So at the moment I'm working with a group in Kenya so that we start helping, giving them care packages. Because Kenya is a little different from here, where you go to the food bank and you get your food. There it's a little tricky. So we'll have people handing food to different families in Kenya.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and we've certainly been watching you and the things that you guys do. And you have recently gotten some accolades from some local publications. Your Impact Atlanta actually did a beautiful article on their organization. If I can find it, I think it's page 15. There it is. Live and in color. So tell us about what was talked about in this article from your perspective.
That article talked about the creation of Mavazi and Splendors, kind of like what we're doing here now.
Okay.
That article talked about it. It was published around the U.S., the continental U.S. Impact Atlanta magazine is a derivative of Impact Detroit.
Okay.
And the great editor, Terry Stevenson, thank you. And so with that article, Alice did talk about, again, the same things here, where her sewing career started, how it was passed down from generation to generation, from her grandmother to her mother and now to her. Okay. So that's kind of what that article covered, along with all of the authentic African art and other home goods that you can purchase through Mavazi and Splendors of Africa. You can reach us. We're all over social media. We're everywhere. We just had a recent expose on the intranet for Chimera Chemicals and Chimera Water Solutions, which is one of my clients that I'm currently consulting with and consulting for. It is a company out of Finland, but they provide all the chemicals for drinking water and wastewater treatment in this country.
Okay. What was the nature of the article?
The nature of that article was, again, during these pandemic times, it was about doing some good. And of course, again, it encompasses the mask and the mask making, and the fact that we've donated some to some medical facilities and some elderly care facilities here locally in Douglasville and around metropolitan Atlanta.
Okay. Do you have anything that you would like to put out there into the universe for folks who wanted to be a part of what you're doing?
Herschel, one of the things I've learned over the years is everybody's not a giver. So we've been here. I constantly keep social media and keep the foundation in Mavazi as visible for people as I can, and we try and lead by example. But they can always come and join us and volunteer and bring your intellectual capital and bring your ideals, because it does. It takes a whole village of people to pull all of this off. Right. We may make it look easy, but it takes a village of people.
Right. What do you think, Alice?
I'm of the same opinion. Everybody is not a giver. I was raised knowing that charity begins at home. Now I have been extended because now I have two homes. I think about Kenya and what is going on in Kenya. I think about what is going on here in the U.S.
Right.
So it's a balancing act, because as I give to Kenya, I also have to give here.
Right.
Charity begins at home. I'm a teacher at the moment, I saw the need when children had to go home. Some children did not have computers. So Steve and I sat back. We were getting ready to open a resource center in Kenya, and we had amassed all these computers. But there was a need immediately. So we gave over 10 computers to some students who needed computers.
Beautiful.
In Kenya, I'm not able to ship the computers to students who are struggling to go to online, to learn online, because of all the shipping at the moment is difficult.
Right, yes.
So what can I do? Right now in Kenya, what I can do is make sure that there's food on the table. In Kenya, we don't have food banks where people can go for food and all that. Being that most students are in boarding schools, they're at home now and parents are struggling to feed them.
Right.
So that's one area I'm focusing on. I want to make sure children can eat.
Okay.
That's very important.
And then keeping with that, if people wanted to, now that they really know what you're about, if they wanted to get in touch with you to either donate or just support in any other kind of way, how would they get in touch with you social media wise?
Social media wise, you can visit us on Splendors of Africa on Facebook. You can visit our website. Again, it's www.splendorsof africa.org. You can visit us on Instagram at Splendors of Africa. You can contact us on Twitter at Splendors of Africa. So we've got all the avenues out there. 90% of every dime that comes into Splendors of Africa goes right back out. We don't keep it. We don't stockpile it. More importantly, we are non-compensatory members.
Okay. And Alice, you have anything you wanted to impart to the folks out there? Because you've told some very telling stories, and certainly want to follow up with you more because it's certainly doing some beautiful things.
Okay. Splendors of Africa is my passion. Education is my passion. I know that education can change a child's life. That's why Splendors of Africa focuses so much on not only the formal education where you go to school, K through 12. No, education is more than that. We have empowerment programs. We want to teach our children how to do different things. Can you imagine if somebody knew how to sew or a child knew how to cook? These are things that people take for granted because they can run to McDonald's and eat. But if you can do those things, it can be a way to make money.
Beautiful, yes indeed.
I've made money because of masks, sewing masks. There are many people who are not able to make a dime at the moment because they don't know how to do anything outside the box.
Right, and certainly with a lot of companies shut down for right now, some folks are really at a standstill.
Yes.
Yes, so. And also, we have a birthday coming up. This is my birthday twin.
Oh,
so,
yes,
so
we are.
we have a birthday coming up, so we won't be able to celebrate like we normally would because we're kind of locked down at the moment. But we're gonna make the most of it.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Good. I just want to thank you guys for being with us today. This has been very enlightening, and I certainly want to have you back sometime soon so that we can talk about some things once we get out from under this quarantine situation. I'm certainly sure you guys are going to hit the ground running, all right?
Yes, we will.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
It was truly an honor to tell our story.
All right. Stephen Thomas and Alice Thomas from Splendors of Africa, and I am Herschel J. Granger Jr., a.k.a. Herschel Jr., The Voice. This has been The Corner. Thank you so much. I want to thank y'all for this t-shirt, by the way. It's very comfortable. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.